Elena Martinez rushed through the marble lobby of the Grandview Hotel, her heels clicking against the polished floor as she balanced a stack of presentation folders and her coffee cup. The morning sun streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows, casting golden rays across the elegant space where crystal chandeliers sparkled overhead. She had exactly 15 minutes before the most important client meeting of her career, and everything seemed to be going wrong. The elevator doors opened with a soft chime, and Elena stepped inside, pressing the button for the executive conference room on the 20th floor. As the numbers climbed, she reviewed her notes one final time. This presentation could secure the biggest wedding contract in the hotel's history, enough commission to finally pay for her mother's surgery. Maria Martinez had been a housekeeper at various hotels for 30 years before her illness forced her to retire, and now Elena carried the weight of both their dreams. When the ISO elevator reached the 20th floor, Elena's heart sank. The conference room was in chaos. Tables were pushed against the walls, chairs stacked haphazardly, and worst of all, the presentation projector lay in pieces on the floor, its screen cracked and wires exposed. "No, no, no," Elena whispered, setting down her materials and kneeling beside the broken equipment. The cleaning crew had obviously had an accident during the night shift, and now her carefully prepared multimedia presentation was useless. She pulled out her phone and dialed the maintenance department, but it went straight to voicemail. Tears of frustration began to well in her eyes as she heard footsteps approaching. A man appeared in the doorway, wearing navy work coveralls with Danny embroidered on the chest pocket. He was tall, with kind dark eyes and gentle hands that looked capable of fixing anything. His black hair was slightly tousled, and he carried a toolbox that seemed to contain every instrument imaginable. "Rough morning?" he asked softly, his voice carrying a warmth that immediately put Elena at ease. Elena looked up, wiping her eyes, quickly. "The projector broke, and I have the most important presentation of my life in 10 minutes. I've been working on this for weeks, and now—" She gestured helplessly at the scattered pieces. Danny set down his toolbox and examined the damage with practiced efficiency. "May I?" he asked, already reaching for the tangled wires. Elena nodded gratefully and watched as his skilled hands began sorting through the components with surprising precision. "You know," Danny said as he worked, "I've learned that the most important presentations aren't about the fancy equipment. They're about the passion behind the message." He glanced at Elena with a knowing smile. "And I can see you have plenty of that." Within minutes, Danny had not only repaired the projector, but had also repositioned the furniture and adjusted the lighting to create the perfect presentation environment. The room was transformed from chaotic disaster to professional perfection. "How did you do that so quickly?" Elena asked in amazement, staring at the fully functional setup. Danny packed his tools methodically, a mysterious smile playing at the corners of his mouth. "Sometimes things just need the right touch and a little understanding." He paused at the doorway. "Good luck with your presentation, Elena. I have a feeling it's going to change everything." Elena's heart skipped a beat. She hadn't told him her name, yet somehow he knew it. Before she could ask, he was gone, leaving only the faint scent of cedar cologne and the lingering feeling that this maintenance man was far more than he appeared to be. The presentation went flawlessly. Elena's passion for creating magical wedding experiences shone through every slide, and the clients were captivated by her vision of transforming their special day into an unforgettable fairy tale. When she concluded with a proposal for a 3-day celebration that would utilize every luxury amenity the hotel offered, the clients signed the contract immediately. Later that afternoon, Elena found herself searching the hotel corridors for Danny, wanting to thank him properly for his help. She discovered him in the hotel's rooftop garden, carefully tending to the flowers that provided the stunning backdrop for outdoor ceremonies. He had removed his work jacket, revealing a simple white t-shirt that showed off his surprisingly athletic build. The roses are beautiful, Elena said, approaching slowly. I never knew we had someone who cared for them so expertly. Danny looked up from the flower bed, soil on his hands and genuine joy in his eyes. Beauty requires attention and care, he replied thoughtfully. These roses have been here for years, but they were neglected. Sometimes all something needs is someone who truly sees its potential. Elena felt those words resonate deep in her heart. For so long, she had felt invisible. At the hotel, just another employee in a sea of uniformed staff. But when Danny looked at her, she felt seen, valued, understood. I brought you lunch, she said, producing a sandwich and bottle of water from her bag. It's the least I can do after you saved my career this morning. They sat together on a stone bench overlooking the city skyline, sharing the simple meal as the afternoon sun painted everything in golden hues. Elena found herself opening up to this mysterious man in ways she hadn't with anyone in years. She told him about her mother's illness, about her dreams of one day opening her own event planning business, about the weight of responsibility she carried. Danny listened with an intensity that made Elena feel like the most important person in the world. When she finished speaking, he was quiet for a long moment, his dark eyes thoughtful. Your mother raised an extraordinary daughter, he said finally. She must be very proud of the woman you've become. Elena felt tears prick her eyes at the sincerity in his voice. She always believed I could do anything, she whispered. Even when I didn't believe it myself. Belief is powerful, Danny said, his voice carrying a weight of experience that seemed too deep for a maintenance worker. But action is what transforms dreams into reality. And from what I've seen today, you're not afraid to take action. As the sun began to set, casting the garden in shades of pink and purple, Elena reluctantly stood to leave. She had to check on her mother and prepare for tomorrow's follow-up meetings with the wedding clients. Will I see you again? She asked, suddenly shy. Danny's smile was warm and promising. I have a feeling our paths will cross again very soon, Elena Martinez. Walking home through the city streets, Elena couldn't shake the feeling that meeting Danny had marked the beginning of something extraordinary. There was something about him that didn't quite fit the role of maintenance worker, something in his confident bearing and the way he spoke that suggested depths she couldn't fathom. That night, as she sat beside her mother's bed in their small apartment, Elena found herself thinking about kind, dark eyes and gentle hands that could fix anything. She wondered who Danny really was and why the universe had placed him in her path at exactly the moment she needed him most. You look different tonight, mija, her mother said weakly, reaching for Elena's hand. Like you're glowing from the inside. Elena squeezed her mother's fingers gently. I think I met someone special today, Mama. Someone who sees me. Maria Martinez smiled, her eyes twinkling with the wisdom of a woman who had spent decades observing human nature. The heart knows what the mind hasn't figured out yet, she said softly. Trust what you feel, Elena. Sometimes the most beautiful surprises come in the most unexpected packages. Over the following weeks, Elena found herself looking forward to her encounters with Danny more than anything else in her daily routine. He seemed to appear whenever she needed help most, like a guardian angel in work coveralls who could solve any problem with skill and grace. When the hotel's main computer system crashed during a busy conference week, leaving Elena scrambling to manage dozens of frustrated guests manually, Danny appeared with a laptop and somehow restored all the lost data within an hour. When the kitchen's industrial mixer broke down the day before a major catering event, threatening to ruin Elena's carefully coordinated timeline, Danny not only repaired the equipment but suggested menu modifications that made the event even more successful than originally planned. You're like a miracle worker, Elena laughed as they shared coffee in the hotel's quiet employee break room after another crisis had been averted. I'm starting to think you're not really a maintenance worker at all. Danny's eyes sparkled with mischief as he stirred sugar into his cup. What do you think I am, then? Elena studied his face, noting the way he carried himself with quiet confidence, the expensive watch he tried to hide under his work sleeves, the way other employees seemed to unconsciously defer to him, even though he supposedly held one of the lowest positions in the hotel hierarchy. I think you're someone who could do anything he wanted in life, she said carefully. Someone who chooses to work with his hands, not because he has to, but because he wants to understand something the rest of us are missing. Danny was quiet for a long moment, his dark eyes reflecting a complexity that made Elena's heart race. You see things others don't, he said finally. That's a rare gift, Elena. Their friendship deepened with each passing day. Danny began bringing Elena small tokens, wild flowers picked from the hotel garden, perfectly ripe fruit from the farmer's market, books of poetry that seemed chosen specifically for her soul. Elena reciprocated by sharing her homemade lunches, teaching him Spanish phrases that made him laugh, and trusting him with her deepest dreams and fears. But not everyone at the hotel appreciated Elena's growing confidence and success. A group of senior staff members, led by the vindictive assistant manager Rebecca Walsh, began to make Elena's life difficult. They scheduled her for impossible tasks, spread rumors about her relationship with the mysterious maintenance worker, and tried to undermine her credibility with important clients. She thinks she's better than the rest of us now, Rebecca sneered to her followers in the staff lounge, unaware that Elena was within earshot. Batting her eyes at the handyman and acting like she's management material. Someone needs to remind her where she belongs. Elena felt the familiar sting of workplace bullying, but this time she wasn't alone. Danny appeared beside her in the corridor afterward, his usually gentle expression hard with controlled anger. No one has the right to treat you that way, he said firmly. You're worth 10 of them, Elena. It doesn't matter what I'm worth, Elena replied sadly. They have the power here. I'm just grateful to have this job for my mother's sake. Danny's jaw tightened, and Elena caught a glimpse of something fierce and determined in his eyes before he schooled his expression back to gentleness. Things are going to change around here, he said quietly. Sooner than you think. The next week, Rebecca and her group of bullies found themselves transferred to different departments or different hotels entirely. A new assistant manager was brought in, someone who valued Elena's contributions and treated all employees with respect. When Elena asked Danny if he knew anything about the sudden changes, he just smiled mysteriously and changed the subject. As spring turned to summer, Elena and Danny's relationship began to shift from friendship into something deeper and more electric. Their coffee breaks turned into long walks through the city, sharing stories and dreams as the world around them came alive with possibility. Danny never spoke about his own background or family, always deflecting questions with gentle humor, but Elena found herself falling for the man he was in the present moment, the one who fixed broken things and made her feel like she could conquer the world. One evening, after Elena had successfully coordinated a charity gala that raised over $1 million for children's hospitals, Danny was waiting for her in the hotel lobby with a single red rose and a look in his eyes that made her breath catch. You were magnificent tonight, he said softly, offering her the flower. Watching you command that room, inspire all those people to give from their hearts. It was like watching magic happen. Elena accepted the rose, her fingers brushing his in a moment of electric connection. I couldn't have done it without knowing. You believed in me, she admitted. You make me feel like I can be the person I've always dreamed of becoming. They walked to the rooftop garden, now illuminated by strings of fairy lights that Danny had installed without being asked. The city spread out below them like a carpet of stars, and the air was sweet with the scent of jasmine and possibility. Elena, Danny said, turning to face her fully, There are things about me that you don't know, things that might change how you feel about everything we've shared. Elena's heart began to race, but not with fear, with anticipation. Whatever it is, we can face it together, she said, reaching for his hands. I trust you, Danny, more than I've ever trusted anyone. Danny pulled her closer, his eyes dark with emotion. You're the most extraordinary woman I've ever met, he whispered. You've changed everything for me, Elena. Everything. When he kissed her under the starlit sky, surrounded by the roses he tended with such care, Elena felt her whole world shift and realign. This was love, real and transformative and powerful enough to overcome any obstacle. Whatever secrets Danny carried, whatever complications lay ahead, Elena knew with absolute certainty that their connection was worth fighting for. As they held each other in the garden, they had both come to think of as their special place. Neither of them noticed the figure watching from the shadows, someone who had finally discovered the truth about the mysterious maintenance worker and was planning to use that information to destroy everything Elena held dear. The morning that changed everything began like any other. Elena arrived at the hotel early, her heart light with the memory of Danny's kiss and the promise of seeing him again. She had stopped by the coffee shop across the street to buy his favorite pastry, planning to surprise him during his morning rounds. The future felt bright and full of endless possibilities. But when she reached the executive floor to prepare for the day's meetings, she found the hotel in chaos. Employees whispered in worried clusters, and the normally pristine lobby buzzed with tension. Elena caught sight of Sophie, her closest friend among the staff, and hurried over. What's happening? Elena asked, noting the stress lines around Sophie's eyes. The hotel's being sold, Sophie whispered urgently. Some corporate raider is buying out the chain, and they're planning massive layoffs. Everyone's terrified we'll lose our jobs. Elena's blood ran cold. This job wasn't just her career. It was her mother's lifeline. The health insurance, the steady income that paid for medications and treatments. Everything depended on her position here. Who's buying us? Elena asked, though she dreaded the answer. Chen Industries, Sophie replied. They're sending their CEO today to evaluate which properties to keep and which ones to close. Word is he's ruthless, only cares about profit margins. Elena's world tilted on. Its axis, Chen Industries. She had heard that name whispered in business circles, always with a mixture of respect and fear. The company was known for acquiring struggling businesses and either transforming them into gold mines or shutting them down entirely. Their CEO was rumored to be brilliant but cold, a man who made decisions based purely on numbers rather than human cost. Needing air and time to think, Elena made her way to the rooftop garden, the one place that had become her sanctuary. But when she pushed open the door, she froze. There was Danny, but he wasn't wearing his maintenance coveralls. Instead, he stood in an impeccably tailored charcoal suit, his hair styled perfectly, speaking into a phone with the authoritative tone of someone accustomed to commanding boardrooms. Yes, I want the complete financial analysis on my desk within the hour, he was saying. And make sure the employment records include performance evaluations for every single staff member. I want to know who we're keeping. Elena's pastry bag slipped from her nerveless fingers, hitting the ground with a soft thud. Danny turned at the sound, and their eyes met across the garden. In that moment, Elena saw the truth written in his. Expression, guilt and love and desperate apology all tangled together. Elena, he said softly, ending his call. I can explain. You're him, Elena whispered, her voice breaking. You're Alexander Chen, the CEO, the one who's going to destroy everything. Danny, no, Alexander, took a step toward her, his hands extended in supplication. Please let me explain. It's not what you think. Elena backed away, her heart shattering into 1,000 pieces. All this time, you've been lying to me, playing with me. Was any of it real, or was I just some kind of experiment to you? It was real, Alexander said urgently, his voice raw with emotion. Every moment, every conversation, every feeling between us has been the most real thing in my life. Elena, please, you have to believe me. How can I believe anything you say? Elena cried, tears streaming down her face. You let me tell you about my mother, about how much this job means to us, all while planning to take it away. You watched me worry and struggle and dream, knowing you had the power to destroy everything I've worked for. Alexander's composure cracked, revealing the depth of his anguish. I came here to evaluate the hotel, yes. But I came as Danny because I wanted to understand the real story, not just the numbers on a spreadsheet. I've spent my entire career making decisions from boardrooms, never seeing the human faces behind the statistics. I thought if I worked alongside the staff, I could make better choices. And what choice have you made? Elena asked, her voice hollow with defeat. Alexander was quiet for a long moment, his dark eyes never leaving her face. I've decided to keep the hotel and invest in expanding the entire chain. But more than that, I'm restructuring the company to prioritize employee welfare and career development. You've shown me what businesses can be when people are valued, when creativity and compassion are rewarded. Elena stared at him, trying to process his words through her hurt and confusion. Why should I believe you? Because of this, Alexander said, pulling a folder from his jacket. It's a proposal I've been working on for weeks. The Elena Martinez Fellowship Program, providing full scholarships and mentorship for hospitality students from underprivileged backgrounds. And this, he added, producing another document, is your promotion to Director of Special Events for the entire Chen Industries Hospitality Division, with a salary that will more than cover your mother's medical expenses. Elena's hands shook as she accepted the papers. Everything was there: official letterhead, signatures, detailed plans that clearly represented weeks of careful preparation. But what moved her most was the personal note paperclipped to the front, written in Alexander's familiar handwriting. For the woman who taught me that true wealth isn't measured in dollars, but in the lives we touch and the love we share. You've made me a better man, Elena. Now let me spend the rest of my life making you happy. Alexander, Elena breathed, looking up to find him on one knee, a ring box open in his hands. The diamond caught the morning light, throwing rainbows across the roses he had tended so carefully. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, he said, his voice thick with emotion. I know I hurt you by keeping the truth hidden. But I also know that what we have is extraordinary, something worth fighting for. Elena Martinez, you've transformed my heart and my entire understanding of what life can be. Will you marry me? Will you be my partner in building something beautiful together? Elena's tears fell freely now, but they were tears of joy mixed with lingering hurt and overwhelming love. You idiot, she whispered, kneeling to his level. Of course I'll marry you, but no more lies, no more secrets. If we're going to do this, we do it as equals, as partners in everything. Partners in everything, Alexander agreed, slipping the ring onto her finger before pulling her into his arms. I love you, Elena. The real you, the one who shares her. Lunch with maintenance workers and believes in impossible dreams. You've saved me in ways you'll never fully understand. Their kiss was passionate and full of promise, sealing a commitment that went far beyond romance to encompass a shared vision of using their combined strengths to make the world a little brighter. 6 months later, Elena stood in the same rooftop garden, now transformed into a wedding venue of breathtaking beauty. Her mother, healthy and radiant after her successful surgery, stood beside her as matron of honor, tears of pride streaming down her face. Alexander waited at the altar they had built together, surrounded by roses in full bloom and fairy lights that twinkled like captured stars. As Elena walked down the aisle lined with employees who had become family, guests who had become friends, and colleagues who had become partners in their shared mission, she marveled at how much had changed. The hotel chain had become a model for ethical business practices, providing living wages, comprehensive benefits, and career advancement opportunities for all employees. The Elena Martinez Fellowship had already helped dozens of young people achieve their dreams in hospitality. But more than all the professional success, Elena had found her soulmate, a man who loved her completely and supported her dreams unconditionally. Alexander had kept his promise about partnership in everything, involving her in major business decisions and valuing her insights as much as any board members. When they exchanged vows under the canopy of stars, promising to love, honor, and cherish each other through all of life's adventures, Elena knew that their story was just beginning. Together, they would build not just a business empire, but a legacy of love, compassion, and positive change that would ripple out into the world for generations to come. As they danced their first dance as husband and wife, surrounded by everyone they loved, Elena whispered in Alexander's ear, "Thank you for seeing me, for believing in me, for loving all of me." "Thank you," Alexander replied, his voice full of wonder, "for teaching me that the most valuable things in life can't be bought or sold, only earned through genuine love and given freely from the heart." Their love story had begun with a broken projector and a mysterious maintenance worker, but it had become something timeless and beautiful, proving that sometimes the most extraordinary romances bloom in the most ordinary moments, between two people brave enough to see past appearances, to the truth of each other's hearts. The end.